What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Dos Santos. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Herbert Burns versus Nate. I can't say his last name. To me, I think Nate is very much a striker wrestler. I think he's primarily a striker with decent takedown defense. As where Herbert Burns on the opposite end is, no striker jiu-jitsu guy. But this fight really is striker versus grappler. I think Nate's obviously got the advantage on the feet. Herbert's got the advantage on the ground. It's just who can keep it where. If Nate can keep it on the feet, he'll win. If Burns can get to the ground, he'll win. It's really close because I haven't seen either of these guys really fight too much. They're both from outside the UFC. I'm leaning slightly towards Burns just because I've seen him fight, but really this fight could go either way. I'm not super confident in this pick. I'm not, until I see these guys fight in the UFC, it's really hard to tell, but I'm leaning slightly towards Burns. Next is Brett Johns versus Tony Gravely, and to me, Tony's a very powerful wrestler with good boxing, but I feel like Brett Johns is a really good boxer with some really good jiu-jitsu. And the biggest weakness Tony's always had is his submission defense isn't that great. Pretty much every single one of his losses is a submission loss. And I feel like on the ground, Brett Johns is just the better overall grappler. And I think this fight will hit the ground sooner or later, and when it does, I think Brett Johns is going to catch Tony in a submission. So I got Brett winning either by first or second round sub. Next, we got Sarah McMahon versus Lena Landsberg. And even though Lena's takedown defense has gotten a lot better, I think Sarah's got a massive advantage in terms of wrestling. Overall striking, Lena's definitely way better. To me, it's just, can Sarah pace herself? Her biggest weakness has always been conditioning. If Sarah can find a way to pace herself, I feel like she could easily be back in the top 5. And she hasn't fought in a while, so hopefully she's worked on all that. And like I said, if she's able to just consistently hit the takedown and pace herself, Sarah McMahon should win all 3 rounds and win the unanimous decision. Next is Montel Jackson versus Felipe Corrales. And to me, they're just trying to feed Montel a win. He's a really big prospect. I think they're just trying to give him one more win before they give him a big step up in competition. Felipe, other than him catching Montel in a lucky submission, I don't see how he wins this fight. I think Montel's got a massive advantage in terms of overall wrestling and a massive advantage in terms of his striking. So I got Montel winning by probably first or second round knockout or TKO. Next is Justine Kish versus Lucy Pavola. And to me, both these chicks are kind of like jiu-jitsu fighters first, a little bit of striking second. I just think Justine Kish is a little bit better at both. I really don't have too much to say about this fight because I think both these chicks are just okay. But I do think Justine Kish is a little bit better overall, and I think she's just going to edge out the decision. Next, we got Bevon Lewis versus Daquan Townsend. And to me, this is really tough because both these guys are really good strikers. Daquan, his last fight was at 205, and I thought he was a pretty big 205er. You know what I mean? It's pretty amazing that he can make middleweight. Both these guys are pretty much just strikers with really good takedown defense. Bevon's probably a little bit more technical and sound. It's tough because I think Daquan is a little bit better with his power. This is really, really close, but I'm leaning slightly towards Daquan. I just think he's bigger and hits a bit harder. Like I said, I think Bevon can probably out-technique him, but I do think Daquan's power is going to help him, so I think Daquan's going to win by knockout sooner or later. On to the main card, the first fight is Arnold Allen versus Nick Lenz. And to me, other than Nick Lenz catching Arnold in a submission, when he goes for a takedown, or if Nick can kind of take his back, I just feel like Arnold's the much better striker. His movement's too good, and his overall grappling, in my opinion, is just as good, but I think he's just the more younger, more athletic guy. Like I said, Nick Lenz can definitely catch in a submission with a rear naked choke or a guillotine, but I just think the likelihood of that's pretty low. I would love it if Nick Lenz would win. I really like him a lot, but I just see Arnold Allen kind of dancing around Nick for 3 straight rounds, outstriking him and just winning the unanimous decision. Next, we got Jamal Hill versus Darko Stoincic. And to me, this is basically 2 really good strikers going at it. Jamal's probably a little bit better of a wrestler, but it's not by much. I think Darko's takedown defense is good enough to neutralize that. Darko's only weakness is his conditioning. If he can get that under control, I think he'd be a guy who could potentially be in the top 15. For Jamal, I haven't really seen him fight too much, so I don't know too much about him other than he's got good conditioning and good striking and overall wrestling. I'm leaning slightly towards Darko just because I've seen him fight more, and I feel like really it's just the conditioning. If he can get that under control, I feel like he's really solid everywhere. So I'm going to lean toward Darko. I'm hoping that he improves, and this fight we see the improvements. Next is Hannah Cifers versus Angela Hill, and this is pretty much just 2 good strikers going at it. Cifers is more of a boxer brawler. Angela Hill's more of a Muay Thai, technical Muay Thai chick. It's kind of just who can keep it at range. If Angela can keep it kind of on the outside or all the way in on the plum, then I think she's going to win. And if Cipher can keep it in boxing range / dirty boxing range, she'll probably win. it's kind of just who's more strong in my opinion, because I think they are going to clinch up a lot, and I think it's just who's ever got the better clinch is probably going to end up winning this fight. And I'm leaning slightly towards Angela Hill. I just feel like she's the taller chick, and I think that's going to help her. And I've just seen her fight more. I feel like I'm more confident in her ability to slightly edge out Hannah with her overall striking game being more diverse with the kicks and the knees and the elbows and stuff like that. Next we got Jordan Espinosa versus Alex Perez, and I just feel like in this fight, these guys are very similar. They're both good strikers. They're both good wrestlers. They both have overall decent submission games. I just think the two things that Perez has the advantage in is he is a more of a volume wrestler, which he uses to really good effect, and also his striking is more of a volume striking style. I feel like Jordan Espinosa is more of like a slow counter striker, and he uses a lot of movement to kind of outpoint a lot of guys and then just score takedowns when he needs to. I think if he ties up with Alex, it's going to favor Alex every time. I think that his conditioning and pace when he wrestles is just better than Espinosa's. And striking-wise, it's tough to tell because I don't think I've ever seen Alex fight someone who has as good a movement as Espinosa. But vice versa, I don't know if Espinosa's ever fought someone that's going to continuously come at him like Alex is. To me, the thing that's going to determine this fight is the wrestling. We're going to see real fast. Whoever wins that first wrestling exchange is probably going to dominate this fight. I'm leaning towards Alex, but you never know. Like I said, once we see these guys tie up, that's really going to decide the fight, in my opinion. But I'm leaning towards Perez. I think he wins all 3 rounds by decision. Next, we got Rafael dos Anjos versus Michael Chiesa, and it's hard not to feel for Michael Chiesa. You know, he's got a couple really bullshit losses. The one to Joe Lozon, where he was starting to turn that fight around, and then it got stopped from a cut. And then the fight against Kevin Lee, where he wasn't tapping and he wasn't unconscious, and they just called it. And, you know, RDA, on the other hand, you know, he's had it tough too because he's gone 1-3 in his last 4, but the dudes he was fighting are all ranked in the top 3 right now, I think. Leon Edwards is at least number 4. And then, you know, obviously the 2 guys that just fought for the title. You know, he looked amazing against Kevin Lee, and I think Kevin Lee is about as good as Chiesa. His boxing's probably a little bit better. Chiesa's probably overall grappling game's a little bit better than Lee's. This is really tough because Chiesa's been submitted several times by really good black belts, and I feel like Dos Anjos is definitely the better striker of these 2. It's really tough just because I feel like Chiesa doesn't have the same type of boxing and overwhelming wrestling as like Usman and fucking Covington have. And as much as I like Chiesa, I just think it's going to be really hard for him to win this fight. I think that unless he is on top of him wrestling-wise, there's really nowhere that I think he has the advantage. I think if RDA is on top of him or if it's in a striking match anywhere on the feet, Dos Anjos has the advantage. He's just the faster, more polished striker. And his top game is too good to get caught in like a triangle or something like that. I don't think he's ever been submitted. I think he's submitted from like a broken jaw, but he's never actually been submitted. So because of that, because Chiesa's biggest weakness is his jiu-jitsu game, I'm just leaning towards Dos Anjos. I think anywhere striking, he's going to have the advantage, and anywhere on top, he's going to have the advantage. So I got Dos Anjos winning by probably submission in the 2nd or 3rd round. Next is Curtis Blaydes versus Junior Dos Santos. And to me, I think this fight, I know that Curtis Blaydes fights a lot like Kane. There's a massive difference, though. I think the first being that Kane's boxing was a lot better than Blaydes, both offensively and defensively. And second was Kane's ability to throw a lot of strikes against the fence. Blaydes isn't really good at that. He's really good at forcing guys against the fence to get takedowns, but he's not really good at throwing volume strikes against the fence. I think one of the biggest weaknesses Blaydes is going to feel in this fight is he's able to get guys to the ground and just kind of stay on top of them, and he's not going to be able to do that to Junior. I mean, we've seen against when Junior fought Kane that Kane really couldn't take him down, hold him down, and just keep him there. And I don't think Blaydes is going to be able to do it either. I think this is going to be kind of like the Kane fights in the sense that he's going to get pushed up against the fence. But I don't think Blaydes is going to be able to throw the volume strikes that that Kane did. And I think that Junior's eventually going to crack Curtis. Because Curtis, like I said, his boxing's not as good. And, you know, even though Junior lost those 2 fights, he was still able to hit Kane with a lot of shots in all the rounds. And I feel like if he's hitting Blaydes with those same shots with his not-so-great striking, I think Junior's going to eventually put him down. I think other than Junior getting caught with a big punch, which Blaydes could absolutely do, I think this fight really favors him because I don't think Blaydes can hit him and go after him the way that Kane did. So I'm picking Junior. I think that he's going to eventually catch Blaydes, and I think he's going to be in the first 3 rounds. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.